Hey everyone, it's me, Eric Kimball, here in my home edition. I am making progress, and I'm going to miss being able to film in this edition space when it's all done, because for years now, I've made a lot of videos, how-to videos here in this area, and I'm going to miss it because I don't have a shop. So I may have to get creative. I don't have, the readership or the watchership that I need in order to make the big bucks on YouTube so that I can build amazing shops and buildings. Some YouTubers do that. But that's not me. We do the best we can with what we got. I'm going to miss this space. In this video, I'm just going to talk. I am going to show you a few things, but mostly I'm going to talk. And this is a different kind of video from the how-tos that I like to make, and I usually make, and my channel is focused on how-to videos, as you know, if you're a watcher here. But anyway, that's all kind of preliminary. I want to tell you about what happened today, about a conversation I had with a 17-year-old young man at an estate sale. And as some of you know, I do go to estate sales, I buy stuff, and I resell it on eBay. It's part of my it's part of how I make a living and keep the bills paid. And the business, the primary business, Planet Whiz-Bang, where I sell down-to-earth books, tools, and inspiration, and I also sell poultry shrink bags. Those are the big seller. Those are the bread and butter items that I sell that pay the bills. The business is down 40 to 50% this year. And I thought selling poultry shrink bags primarily was a recession-proof business, or would be a recession-proof business, but it's not. And here I am spending thousands of dollars to try to finish up my edition. But there's no crisis here. It's all okay. Years ago, I did work for a farmer, a bachelor farmer, never been married, and he had a large farm. I mean, he had multiple farms. He was the largest landowner in the town. I think he was the largest landowner in 2 towns. Anyways, he was an old timer, and I used to do carpentry work for him. And one day, he and I were going from one farm to another in his truck. He was driving, and he's asking me about myself. This was the 1980s. I had gotten married fairly recently, and he took an interest in that, and he gave me a bit of advice. He said, let me give you some advice. You want to save for a rainy day. And he stressed that, you want to save for a rainy day. And I said, that sounds like good advice. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I've done. And so, we got a recession going on here. And I got 3 adult kids, sons with families, and they're working, and they're trying to make ends meet. And we are in a difficult economic situation. They're feeling it. They're feeling it seriously. So, I've been there in the last recession. I was there. Anyway, I want to talk about that in a future video. But today I'm going to ramble, I guess. That's the way I'm starting out. And this may not be something you're interested in, but I want to talk to you about this estate sale, and not so much the estate sale, but the young man I met at this sale. So I went to the sale, got there early, was one of the first people in, and this kid, he says, he asked me, what are you looking for? Something like that when I walk up. You don't normally get that from people. I said, I'm looking for tools. And his grandfather was there, and he says, let me take you to the tools. Let me show you. We got lots of tools. They're in the basement. Well, that was music to my ears, like, whoa, okay, let's go. So we go down in the basement, and yep, there's lots of tools, lots of stuff. And I got my big canvas totes. And that was fun. I had a good time down in that basement sorting through the tools. Brought my flashlight. I always bring a flashlight. In fact, I bring a couple. And I either hold the flashlight, it's a little one, hold it in my mouth, or I clip it on my hat, and that frees my hands up. And so there's a little tip for you. Bring the little flashlight. I'll show it in a future video, maybe. It's pretty handy. Anyway, so my approach with the sales like this, it was like a garage estate sale. The story was that the father of this family had passed away, and he must have passed away at a fairly young age. And so they were selling his things and other things. And so the tools were among them. I got a bunch of tools, and I went up, and they had stuff in the yard, and I looked through there. And when I'm in estate sales, I make the rounds multiple times because you see things the second, and the third, and the fourth time around that you didn't see the first time. So anyway, I ended up going back down in the basement, and this young man came down, and we got talking, and he told me these tools belong to his father's grandfather. And that was interesting, and I asked about his father. And he told me that his father was a geologist, and he traveled the world. And he went to every continent except Africa. He even went to Antarctica, but he never went to Africa. And that was his dream. From when he was in 6th grade, he made a bucket list, and it was to travel the world. He was a geologist. And then as he got older, he got married, decided to settle down, went to school, got another degree. I think he had 2 or 3 degrees, college degrees, and it was a business degree. His father was not a slacker, I could tell. And he had a rock collection. He had a shell collection, seashell collection. He was, like I said to this young man, I said, "It sounds like your father was a high achiever," and he nodded his head, yeah. So anyway, we were having a little discussion there because this was an interesting kid. I could tell this is not a normal kid. Just the way he talked, he interacted with an adult. And I said, "How old are you?" And he said, "I'm 17 years old." Or I'm 17. And I said, "Wow, I wish I could be 17 again." And he said, in response to that, he said to me something that I didn't expect. He said, "What would you do differently if you were 17 again?" And I was taken aback by that because it was a really, I thought, intelligent question. And I said, "Wow, that's a great question." And I said to him, "I've thought about that, and there's not a whole lot I would have done different. I wanted to work with my hands. I worked in the building trades. I wanted to live in a rural area and be somewhat self-sufficient, and I've done that. And I wanted to get married, have a family, and I've done that. And there's not a whole lot I would do different." He just kind of nodded his head. And then he told me that he worked in a place that restores and repairs, maintains organs like that you play in a church, organs. And I was surprised. I said, "Well, how long have you worked there?" He said, 2 years. I said, and that's when I asked him, "How old are you?" And he said, "I'm 17. And that just, it really, I was impressed. This is a remarkable young man. And I came upstairs out of the basement, and I talked to his grandfather and paid him for all the stuff I had bought. And as I was walking past his mother was there at the end of the sale as I was walking away. And I said, "I had a nice visit with your son in the basement. He's a remarkable kid." And he says, "I'm right here." And he's come walking behind me. And he walks behind me, and he sits at an organ. I didn't even notice it. There's an old, 1800s little organ right next to his mother. It's one of those things I'm not into organs, so I walked right by it. And I noticed, that's a beautiful organ. And he sits down. I said, "What, did you bring that home from work?" And he said, "No." And he starts playing. He starts playing The House of the Rising Sun. And I looked over at his mother, and I said, "Yeah, he's special, all right." And I left. I left that sale. And I thought to myself, that was nice. You feel better about the world when you meet a young man like that, who is able to carry on a conversation with a 65-year-old guy and ask intelligent questions. And it was nice. I felt good about that. So I'm on the way home. I'm going to show you a couple things I got from that sale because they actually apply to, one of the things to this edition and the work I'm going to be doing. But I'm on the way home from that sale, and I see another sale. And I knew this sale was there, but I don't normally go to this estate sale person because they price things so high. I mean, it's like, you want to get rid of this stuff or what? But it was on the way home. It was just a little couple turns, and I went there and I saw Dominic Carone was there, Primetime Treasure Hunter. He's got a YouTube channel. I've met Dominic at a couple of his sales over the years, and we had a nice little talk, a little discussion, a little chat there about this YouTube channels and about this particular estate and how high they price their stuff, and I bought something there, but which I'll show you. But then I got home and I told my wife, I went to a great sale. I got some good stuff and at a reasonable price, and I met this young guy, and he asked me, what would I do differently if I had to do it all over again? And I told her, I said, I had to tell him that I wouldn't do much different. I'm satisfied with the way my life has gone. And she said, well, you would have gone to school to learn a different trade. And I thought, oh yeah, I did tell my wife on more than one occasion that if I had to do it over again, I would go and learn to be a machinist, because I'm fascinated by people who are machinists and the things they can do. They are the machinists, not the people who are in front of the computers and pushing buttons and watching the machine do the work, but machinists who know how to do it the old way, with the old lathes and the mills. And we have a couple in my community who have a machine shop in their home, and they are an invaluable asset to this community. They fix and make parts for the farmers. They're like the blacksmiths. Every community had at least one blacksmith, and they took care of fixing and making. And this machinist in my community, they're like that. So I just admire that, and I would have been a machinist, and I've thought that for many years. But anyway, that is something, yes, I didn't even think of that I might have done differently. But then I thought, well, there's something else I would have done differently. And if you watch my channel, when I was 50 years old, I bought a banjo when I turned for my 50th birthday. Well, that was a long time ago now. And I tried to learn how to do that, and I figured, I don't have the time to do this. I should have picked this banjo up when I was a teenager and I had time. Remember when you were younger and you had time? Those days are gone. And so I still have the banjo. It's a beautiful banjo. I've showed it it was made by a goat farmer down in Virginia. And the guy made these banjos, these beautiful banjos, back in his shed. I don't know if he's still doing it. Can't remember his name. But anyway, it's a beautiful tool, which brings me to something I bought today. I bought a banjo. No kidding. I bought a banjo, that sale I saw Dominic at, and I'm going to show it to you right here. This is the banjo that I bought at that sale. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Nice little banjo, handcrafted, and it's 9 inches long. 9 inches long. I paid $10 for it. It was a whole lot less than that one I bought when I was 50 years old. That's it. Why did I buy this? I don't know. Because it was $10 and I thought it was cute. And it had its own little case. So there you go. I bought another banjo. It's even got a little handle here. Isn't that cute? All right, let me show you something else I got at the first sale. It is a shell on a little stand covered with a heavy layer of dust. But dust cleans off and it'll be beautiful. And on the bottom, it says Murex torrefactus from Borneo. This shell came from Borneo. It was part of the interesting and impressive and remarkable young man's father's collection. He had a shell collection. He had a mineral collection. Yeah, so I saw this and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I got to have that. Gotta have it, right? That's what I do at these sales. I often buy things that are kind of beyond my knowledge, and I learn by buying them. This happens with a lot of historical paper. I'll spend hours sometimes. And here's a nautilus shell, beautiful nautilus shell, and I made a mistake at this sale because there was a larger nautilus shell, much larger, and I left that there, and I should have grabbed it, because when it comes to reselling, these nautilus shells definitely have a resale value, but the big ones are worth a whole lot more than the smaller ones. All right, so let me show you one more thing I got. This shell right here. This is a shell. Look at this thing, all spiny. That's really something. And it's in a little dirty case here, and it's had a sign on it that says Venus comb from the Philippines. There's a Venus comb. Pretty neat, huh? So I got all kinds of shells, and I got one other thing, the thing that I'm going to use here on this edition, and it's right here. It's a vintage cornering tool. This is a Stanley Sweetheart number 28, 1/8 inch and 1/16 inch cornering tool. Now the Stanley Sweetheart tools, if you don't know, are vintage tools that have a little heart and an SW. People collect Stanley Sweetheart tools. This isn't worth a whole lot, $7 or $8, but this is a tool I used to have and I used to use, and I've lost track of it. And I was thinking about this the other day, how when I trim out my windows and doors in here, you need to give the pine, I'm trimming out with pine, you need to give it a little bit of a rounded edge. And this is what this tool is for. You just, you see this, it's got a little radius here, and you run it down the wood. Perhaps I'll show it to you when I get to that part of the project. And it makes a little round over. And you don't want sharp corners on your woodwork. It doesn't hold the paint as well, doesn't wear as well. So, rather than use sandpaper, you use this little tool right here. And it needs to be sharpened. And to sharpen it, I will get a small dowel, and I'll wrap some like 600 grit sandpaper, and I'll just run it back and forth in that slot, and that will refresh that edge. So yeah, got a nice little Stanley Sweetheart round over tool. So this video has been something a little bit different. We'll call it show and tell. It was a show and tell video, and the thing that I want to end on is a question for you. I'm looking for your answer to that question. What would you have done differently? What would you do differently if you were 17 years old again? And I've looked at the demographics, I guess you would call it demographics, or statistics, I guess maybe would be the better word for this channel. And most of the people who watch this channel are like 50 and older, and most of them are men. That's what it is. There aren't a lot of young people who watch this. So this is a question for you. This is a question for you. It's a serious question. What would you do differently in your life if you were 17 years old again? I'm very curious to see your answers to that. And that concludes this video. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you signing up, and I appreciate you hitting the thumbs up button and all of that. I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.